the sacred tradition of St. Thomas Christians, or the Thoma Margam. It's an incredible account of how St. Thomas Christians held on to the original apostolic teachings of the pre-Nicene period. Church of St. Thomas Christians has remained a worshipping community, keeping the way of Jesus brought to India by our Apostle Thomas for more than 1500 years ago. Those who became the followers of the way of Jesus Christ through the way of St. Thomas the Apostle used to say to their children, "We are the children of St. Thomas the Apostle. ഞങ്ങൾ മാർ തോമസ് ശ്ലീഹായുടെ മക്കളാകുന്നു." Traditionally, they were called Mar Thoma Nazranin in Kerala. Nazranis refer to the followers of Jesus who was from Nazareth. Even today, the death anniversary of this Apostle St. Thomas is celebrated every year on the 3rd of July. In fact, St. Thomas is commemorated in every Eucharistic celebration. St. Thomas Christians gave great importance to the sacraments in their journey of faith. For St. Thomas Christians, in the sacraments of initiation, baptism, confirmation, and Holy Kurbana are administered together that initiates one into the Christian existence. St. Thomas Christians celebrate the Pesach in a very unique manner. On Maundy Thursday evening, they break the bread and drink milk. This unleavened bread is called Kurishapam. It is to be broken and distributed by the senior-most male member of the family. On fasting days of Lent and Advent, Nazranis used to have a single meal, that too after the evening prayer. All came to church for the morning and the evening prayers. Some people came even for the midnight prayers. Let's now look at the daily life and fasting habits of St. Thomas Christians. Fasting and abstinence on Fridays and Wednesdays were a common apostolic practice among Nazranis. 50 days fast of Lent, 25 days fast of Advent, 50 days fast of the Apostles, 15 days fast of the 12 Fridays after Christmas, 3 days of fast of Ninevites, 8 days fast of the Virgin, fast of Elijah, fast of Transfiguration, and other vigil fast indicate an intense ordination of Nazranis. In fact, for centuries, the Mar Thoma Nazranis were also called as fasting Christians. If we avoid the overlapping days, Nazranis fasted for a total of 225 days per year. Fasting meant total abstinence from meat, fish, egg, milk and milk products, alcohol, sexual life, smoking, chewing betel, etc. That shows the intense discipline that the Nazranis followed in their daily lives. There also existed a practice among St. Thomas Christians to take bath in the middle of the night of Danaha in a nearby pond or a river before entering the church. This ritual bath was a reminder for the baptism of Jesus in Jordan. On the same day at their homes, they celebrated Pindikuti Perunal. Oil lamps were arranged on the stem of the plantain or banana trees, and Nazranis went round it reciting repeatedly, El Paya, meaning God is light. Even before official baptism, the newborns are considered a member of the community by the very birth from Nazrani parents. 40 days after the birth of a boy, but 80 days for a girl, the mothers would not go to the church, mainly for the mother to recuperate from delivery and gain good health. Afterwards, she would go to the church with her child. Soon after the birth, the name of Jesus Christ is whispered into the ear of the child. It is interesting to note that the name of Jesus Christ is whispered into the ear of the dying members of Nazrani communities also. At the same time, the newborn used to be fed with a few drops of honey mixed with milk, gold powder, and a herb Vayambar. In the 11th month after birth, the parents brought the child to Choruta, or first feeding with sweet rice. The priest then feeds the child with a small amount of sweet rice 3 times. Few years later, the child undergoes Ezhuthinirutha, sitting for writing or learning. The child is seated on the lap of a teacher or a priest who, after reciting some prayers, makes the child to write the letters of some alphabets. Isho Mishihaike Stuti Aayirikkate. Praise be to Jesus Christ is the phrase with which the members greeted their parents, clergy, teachers, respectable elders, etc. With this greeting, they used to kiss the hand as a sign of welcome and respect. This tradition is practiced even now, where every day after family prayers, children greet and take blessings from their parents and elder members present there. Nazranis were fond of making pilgrimages to places associated with Thomas Apostle and his missionary work in southern India. Mylapore, being the spot of his martyrdom and tomb, was one of the most prominent locations. St. Thomas Christians from the Malabar coast used to walk all the way to pray over there. Usually, it took 25 days for pilgrimage to Mylapore. They went for this only after at least 21 days of spiritual preparation, fasting, abstinence, etc. Malayattur was another important pilgrim center. In the early days, most of the ancient churches were dedicated to Saint Mary and Saint Thomas. But Kuruvalangad remained the most famous place because of the first Marian apparition in our history. Even today, all the above mentioned pilgrim centers are very popular among the Nazranis and the members of the religions. Another surviving tradition is the use of Muttukada, ornamental umbrella, for church celebrations, marriages, and other festivals. Traditional drums, ark decorations, and Panjavadyam are parts of the church celebrations. Even today, their use has become very popular all over the places where St. Thomas Christians live. Coming to the articles of use, St. Thomas Christians widely use Nilavilakku, a lighted metal lamp, Kindi, Kalasha, and other bronze articles in their houses and churches. The traditional dress of a St. Thomas Christian woman was the chatta and munda, a seamless white garments, which is now limited to all female members. Covering their head while in worship is observed by the entire Nazrani Christians until this day. Many dance forms like Margam Kali, an ancient dance form performed in a circular configuration with a Nelavalak at the center, and Parijamuttukali, an ancient martial dance form where Syrian Christian men with sword and shield followed the movements and steps of Kalaripaita. All these still exist among the St. Thomas Christian community. Now, let us look at what were the disciplines about matrimony or marriage. St. Thomas Christians do not marry close relatives. The rule is that the bride and the groom must not be related for at least 5 or 7 generations. Marriages were all well planned and arranged between two families according to their social, cultural, educational, and political status. Families and individuals were considered equally important. Betrothal was in the family, but the crowning took place in the church. St. Thomas Christians generally prefer arranged marriages, and the prospective partner sees each other in Pennu Kanal, bride viewing ceremony at bride's home. Many native customs were adopted after Christianizing them. Thaligata, a typical example. A golden leaf containing a cross made of 21 gold globes is the thali of Nazrani bride. 3 or 7 threads are taken from Mandragodi in order to form one thread to tie the thali around the neck of the bride. As long as the married woman is alive, she wore the thali. When she dies, the thali used to be deposited in the coffer of the church. The thread and the kora are buried with her. This symbolizes the sacredness of Nazrani marriage. Divorce and adultery were never heard of among the traditional St. Thomas Christians. So too the evils like murder, alcoholism, theft, etc. After the death of a person, the body is washed in warm water and no food was prepared at that home until the burial was over. After the burial, the priest would bless the house of the deceased. Pula Adiyantaram and Chatram were also observed. The church or Palli was governed by Palliyogam, a democratic group of elders on the local, regional and national level. It was a decision-making body of elders presided over by the eldest priest. The bishop remained a pastoral and spiritual head who usually left the administration of the church to the Palliyogam. In the early years, bishops came from Syria, Persia and Mesopotamia, and they did not interfere in the day-to-day administration of the church. Local leaders were very efficient and happy to play that role. All important matters of the individual members, priests and communities were discussed and decided at the Palliyogam. The community gave financial contributions and gift to the support of their clergy. St. Thomas Christians maintained the same socio-cultural life of the people of the land they belonged to. Their way of life was considered as one of the earliest religions of India.